On Friday, a former NFL offensive lineman for the New York Giants and Seattle Seahawks, Chad Wheeler, was sentenced to 81 months, or just under 7 years, in state prison for first and second degree domestic violence assault. Chad Wheeler started playing football at the age of, you know what? Fuck his story. This is normally the part of the video where I start to tell you the background of the athlete involved in the story. Look, he was a good offensive lineman in high school, obviously, went to college, was drafted by the New York Giants in 2017, cut in 2019, signed by the Seahawks in 2019, and was cut by the Seahawks following the 2020 season. This story isn't really about Chad Wheeler. This story is about Alleah Taylor. Alleah graduated from Renton High School in the state of Washington in 2012. According to her LinkedIn profile, she went to Highline Community College for healthcare administration in 2015 and has worked in healthcare administration since 2014. Alleah Taylor and then Seattle Seahawks offensive lineman Chad Wheeler began dating around August of 2020.
We were like best friends. We did everything together. I even introduced him to my family. We would babysit my nephew together.
In January of 2021, everything changed.
The Seattle Seahawks say they have cut the lineman who's been arrested on domestic abuse charges.
An NFL player is accused of almost beating his girlfriend to death. According to court documents, the fight broke out when her boyfriend allegedly asked her to bow down to him. When she refused, he strangled her with both hands until she passed out. When she regained consciousness, Wheeler remarked, "Wow, you're alive?" That's when she fled into the bathroom and locked the door.
What is it that's happening?
He stood up and he told me to bow down. I asked him why. He didn't respond. He just told me to bow down again and told him no, and he immediately grabbed my neck. I remember looking up at him and asking him, "Please stop, Chad. It's me."
According to Taylor, she blacked out twice before the attack was over.
I had touched my face. There was blood on my hand, and I remember getting up and running to the bathroom. Chad was standing by the bed, by the doorway, and he was sipping his smoothie. And was like, "Wow, you're still alive."
Alleah showed up to Chad Wheeler's bail hearing just days later.
Why was it so important for you to appear in court?
I didn't want him to think that he had that power over me. And I thought, how easy would that be for him and his legal team to be able to say whatever they want without having to look me in the eye.
On this past Friday, Alleah showed up to Wheeler's sentencing hearing where she addressed him directly.
"Chad, before you tried to kill me, I would have done anything for you. I want you to think about how you had access to the best doctors and medications, sleep machines, yet chose to be ungrateful and not use any of it."
Alleah Taylor stood in a courtroom, faced the monster who attacked her, who beat the hell out of her and left her for dead. She stood and she said this to him.
"It'll be a cold, cold, cold day in hell before I show you any mercy. And I'll find peace. I will find love again."
All right, now I can already hear some thoughts in the comment section. Chad Wheeler was bipolar and off of his meds. It was a medical episode. All right, stop with the excuses. I am so sick of it. Chad Wheeler's not the only bipolar person in this country. Most of the bipolar people in this country don't beat the hell out of their significant other and leave them for dead. And I get it. Bipolar is a very serious illness. He was diagnosed and he was prescribed medication, and he chose not to take that medication. There's no excuse for him to not be taking his medication. You know what really makes me feel justified in my point of view that there's no excuse? Chad doesn't really feel bad about this. In July of 2022, as in a year and a half after he beat up Alleah Taylor and left her for dead, Chad was under a form of house arrest, still not taking his medication, and was found running naked out in the streets outside of Seattle. So even after this whole awful thing that happened between him and his ex-girlfriend, he still wasn't taking his meds. He still didn't care. Knowing that something that awful had already happened as a result, or allegedly as a result of you not taking your meds, you're still choosing not to take your meds? So you just don't care. And if that's not bad enough, let's circle back even further. Back in 2015, 5 years before he ever met Alleah Taylor, Chad was detained by police in California after he had an episode where he was punching the walls manically and he barricaded himself in an apartment with a woman and her young son. He was diagnosed with bipolar disorder the next day. So it's not like he didn't know what he was capable of. It's not like he didn't know that he could have a manic episode if he's not on his medication. He knows all of that. He was just choosing not to take his medication. And maybe this isn't the time or place for this conversation, but to be honest with you, in general, I am sick of the excuses. Whether we're talking about an active shooter or we're talking about an abusive monster, mental health is no excuse. We can agree 100% that mental health needs to be taken more seriously in this country. We can agree with that. We can agree 100% that medical care needs to be better in this country. But as said earlier, Chad Wheeler had access to plenty of great medical care. And while, yes, there are things we can do to improve our community and do things better, there's still no damn excuse for some of these things. There is no damn excuse for domestic violence. No reason to be putting your hands on someone else that way, ever. And domestic violence, especially to the level that Chad Wheeler did it, not that it's ever okay, but especially to the level where you're leaving your significant other for dead, a significant other who trusted you, a significant other who trusted you around her nephew, trusted you around her family. There is no damn excuse. But I digress. Like I said, this video is about Alleah. It's about how remarkable she's been since this whole thing happened. Since that dreadful day in 2021, Alleah became a model, first on Instagram, gaining thousands of followers, and then to Playboy in 2023. In fact, on Alleah's Instagram page, she proudly points out that she is Washington State's first black Playboy bunny. Alleah uses her newfound model status for positive influence. On her Instagram page, one of her story chains, I don't even know if that's what you call it. Look, I'm not very good at social media, particularly bad at Instagram. Point is, she has a section of her page dedicated to domestic violence advocacy. She uses her platform to speak to victims and give them inspiration to move on with their lives, to give them the support to leave abusive relationships, and to speak on her meeting with the Washington State Women's Commission. Through the WSWC, Alleah Taylor has also been involved in working to improve Washington state laws regarding protection orders and domestic violence definitions, including playing a key part in Senate House Bill 1901. The revised bill includes a new definition for coercive behavior as an element of domestic violence. The point I'm trying to get to is that Alleah Taylor was a participating force in this change. In fact, she was even listed on the Senate bill report as someone who was testifying. I hope that more people are brave like Alleah and come forward and address the fact that there's domestic violence. I hope they go to court and testify against domestic abusers. I hope that people can be held accountable. Be like Alleah. Be brave.
It'll be a cold, cold, cold day in hell before I show you any mercy. And I'll find peace. I will find love again.